his entire section on like, it was funny. There was kind of a jubilant, jokey mood during much of it. Mm-hmm. And then when he got to the parts about migrants, the crowd took a dark motherfucking turn.
Yeah, I mean, this was so the gentleman who was behind us in the Donald Trump yarmulke, the big yarmulke man, who then moved in front of us, and it was especially during this section, the section on immigration and migrants and the 20 million illegal aliens that he says he's going to deport on the day one of his, term. The guy in front of us starts going into like Pentecostal shakes.
I genuinely never seen
anything like this. And I remember seeing him and being like, oh, this guy's a fucking fascist. Like, I have never, like, it's been a while since I've been in any kind of, I don't know, like seeing people like this, but he was shaking and like he was like, yeah, fuck yeah, get them, like screaming. Get them.
And it was like beyond, it was like through clenched teeth.
Yes, like he was physically shaking. He was like, there was like tears coming out of, like, he was sweating. He was like spittling. He was clenching. I have never seen anything, and he just like couldn't. It was like holy Pentecostal, like he was feeling the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit was the fucking DHS.
It was crazy. When he sat in front of us, I think I told you about this afterwards. I like lapsed into this like 20-minute long like just, I guess, I don't know, reverie or whatever I went into.
You're loving that word lately.
I know. Well, there's been a lot of it's been in the air, but nice. I thought about it. I was like, I would execute this guy. Like, I'm like, if I was like thinking about it, I was like, if there was some situation in my life where like I had
we were in the movie Civil War.
Yeah. Oh God. I saw it. It was horrible. Oh God.
I can't do that one.
I mean, I knew it was going to be stupid. I don't care about that. It was just a bad movie.
I hate a bad action movie.
I know.
There's a good bad action movie. It was so good.
There was like one good action scene, but it was just what a waste. But I was just like, fuck, dude. Like, this is one of those guys that you just kind of got to like smoke. Like, like there's like, I don't know, man. He was psychotic.
Yeah, there was. I mean, there's, even when we were talking to the like friendlier MAGA people or friendly MAGA people, like the women that we were in line with or whatever, like you could see something, you'd be like, you're really nice and like very friendly. Like, how did you, it was kind of sad, because you would be like, what happened so you got here? And you know that there's like a terrible story there. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like just either may or may not involve the internet or not, may not, but it then would involve some sort of like tragedy in the family or work or just something that's like just a sad story. Yeah. Right? A guy like this, I have absolutely no desire. I'm just like...
There's a soul sickness.
There is. And it was really, really it was really scary to see. It was really, really scary, especially like... watching him get so fucking jacked, hearing the kind of shit that Trump was saying. And when I say that, I mean like, so this whole like migrant section, what are you gonna call it, the migrant movement, you knew he was going to hit on it, but I was not prepared for him hitting on it in such a way that was like, kind of like page 6-y. Yeah. Where he basically was like, I think I have a quote here from it. Day after day, week after week, Joe Biden is releasing illegal criminals into our communities to rape, pillage, plunder, and to kill. Just this week, a 12-year-old girl in Houston was tied up, stripped, and strangled to death after walking into a 7-Eleven. Charged with her heinous murder are 2 illegal savages that Joe Biden recently let loose into our country. They came across our border, claiming they feared for their lives in Venezuela. So he had like 3 or 4 or 5 even stories like that were actually in pretty graphic detail about like the like rape of children that he said was done by illegal immigrants. And it was just this like very, I mean, I don't know what to say, like classic, cliched almost fascist rhetoric about like heinous crimes being done to innocent angels. Yeah.
It's the same, like, I mean, it's kind of boilerplate on in terms of that kind of stuff, because it's like it's the same that Geertz of Wilders does. Yeah. Same like Maloney. Well, not anymore. I don't know.
No, Maloney's now the darling of The Economist. Yeah, they love her.
But yeah, it was like it was interesting because that was like you could tell that he was also really on the teleprompter for a lot of this too, because he started doing crime stats.
Yeah.
And his whole thing too, I didn't really understand this. He was talking about how like the FBI crime stats that came out are not true, because I guess there's been like there's a huge uptick in murders in like 2020 or whatever, and there's been like crime since then and various kinds, and then there's been like a downturn, I think, in some violent crimes in the past year. He's like, the FBI statistics, like, they're lying, because there needs to be a new category called migrant crime. Now that I really just did not understand, because I'm like, what does that mean? What is a migrant crime? Like
crimes committed by
I know,
immigrants?
But like, is that everything from shoplifting to
Probably.
murder, or like because technically being an illegal migrant is a crime, because it's you crossed here illegally. But I was reading that Time interview that he did like a few months back, and he's talking, because he mentioned several times like, we're going to deport everybody like day one.
Yeah, he says 20 million people.
20 million people.
Which I think the Chamber of Commerce might have something to say about that.
Yeah. And he talks about in the Time interview, he's like, he's talking about that. And he's comparing it to Eisenhower's thing. I think it was Eisenhower, right? Like when they just like threw everyone on the other side of the border. Like they just like drove people to Mexico and just dropped them off. But he's talking about deploying the military. And, he's kind of hedges and be like, when I talk about military, I'm mostly talking about the National Guard. I don't know what that means. But he does mention like he keeps saying the military. And the Time magazine guys, like, you can't do that. Like the Posse Comitatus Act says, the Posse Comitatus Act says you can't deploy the U.S. military against civilians. Would you override that? And then Trump says, well, these aren't civilians. These are people that aren't legally in our country. This is an invasion of our country.
Yeah.
And I
see the kind of legal logic that he's lining up.
Yeah, definitely. And I just, I that to me, I felt like I hadn't read that interview when we saw the speech, but like I got that vibe there.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It was like mass roundups, like which is using. He talks about how he's like wants to use local law enforcement, like something like logistically on that level, you can't do that.
Well, even like if that ever could, beyond the realities and legal realities of the situation, like the crowd was fucking loving it.
Yeah.
Like they really were, the shouting, the crying, the cheering, the chanting when he was going through all of this stuff was like no other section.
Yeah.
During the speech.
Yeah, I think the only other thing was at one point, like he makes a comment about transgender like students or whatever, and people went crazy for that. But like this was the thing that he like harped on for like a while in a section, and people were like standing up, and it was interesting because there was like the psycho guy behind us, and like everyone was like pretty like animated towards it.
There's a guy like across from us.
I was gonna say like every so often there was like somebody you were like, something going on with that.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, that guy had like 5 never surrender signs.
Yeah.
And was a little, it looked like he had a son with him, but yeah, he looked a little Waco.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was just like, it's people who get like, whether it's a combination, I assume, of like belief, but also like, that ecstasy of the moment, like that connection between those two, and like creates this, it makes people go insane, and like that's kind of what we saw with those kind of guys in the crowd. It was dark.